So the way most SaaS companies think of content and blog is this top of funnel type exercise. And that has been proselytized by a lot of these marketing automation tools that have become very famous, like HubSpot. And there's this kind of idea or this ethos in this space of this is the way marketing, but in particular, content marketing and SEO should work. First, you want to capture them at the awareness stage. And then you sort of like lead the customer with their hand down through the funnel, through all these. And we have a very simple one here, right? Awareness, consideration, but there's all these different steps. And how do you do that? You drip them. So you create this piece of content that's generally on topic with what you sell. And then you capture their email address with some lead form, white paper, what have you. And then you keep emailing them. And slowly they'll become aware that there's a problem and they need your help with, you can help them. And then they're considering solutions and then you convert them. What we found is that the content that you could reasonably call awareness stage or top of funnel, when you sit down and measure it, which is the convert of grow and convert in our DNA, you find you can barely attribute any leads to it. And we've tried all kinds of things. And in my previous life at the A/B testing agency, we've tried all kinds of things on very top of funnel content. And I'll tell stories in a second about that. We tried putting pop-ups, putting, all this stuff to turn high traffic posts into conversions or signups. Nothing worked. And actually that's a good segue into talking about specific examples. So the old client that I'm thinking about is this tool, SaaS tool called When I Work, which is an employee scheduling and time tracking SaaS app. Decent sized customer base in the US. It's for brick and mortar businesses like restaurants, coffee shops that have hourly employees. This person's working Monday from this time to that time, whatever, and you have to schedule these shifts, right? This software. They had a post, and I'm going to try to remember here. This was many, many years ago. They were a client for the A/B testing agency. They had a post on minimum wage or something. So for those of, so some US political education here for everyone here it seems to be logging in from India. The minimum wage is a very hot political topic in the US. And both sides of the politics like to fight about what the minimum wage should be, blah, blah, blah. So they were ranking for a term, an SEO term that got tons of traffic. Something about some minimum wage keyword. We tried all kinds of things and it didn't work. Another example, they were ranking for team building games. And on the surface, that makes sense from this top of the funnel framework, because the type of people that are using scheduling software is the human resources or HR department inside these companies. And what do they want to do with the team? What is one thing that they do with their employees is they think of employee building, team building type activities. So maybe some HR, human resources type people that would also buy scheduling software are interested sometimes in team building games. It seems reasonable from this framework, right? We tried putting pop-ups. We tried multiple CTAs to get from somebody Googling team building games to signing up for a demo or trial of When I Work scheduling software. Nothing worked. It's not that it got zero conversions, it got some, but the conversion rate was tiny, tiny, tiny. Versus blog posts that were ranking for terms like employee scheduling software, getting a small fraction of the traffic of team building games. We're getting massive amounts extra demos and signups for When I Work. And when you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense. You're probably listening to this saying, that's really obvious, David. Like, what are you talking about? But it's not. Well, it is obvious, but people don't do that. They consistently chase traffic and go after these top of the funnel type terms. And team building games, the problem is not that HR people wouldn't Google that. They probably are Googling that. The problem is that the act of Googling team building games does not indicate that you are ready right now to be signing up for scheduling software. Feel free to ask questions. I'm going to give another example with specific SEO keywords. Let's talk about CRMs, right? If you guys are in SaaS, everybody is very familiar with CRMs. A common or popular Salesforce competitor. So there's like a million CRM tools out there, right? There's Salesforce as the incumbent and maybe 1,000 other tools underneath. One of those popular alternatives to Salesforce is Pipedrive. Okay. It's a CRM. Maybe it's for slightly smaller businesses. I don't know. What I did was I went into Ahrefs SEO tool and I said, show me the organic keywords that pipedrive.com is ranking for. And let's ignore all the branded search ones. Like, of course, it's ranking #1 for the term Pipedrive. Let's look at the things that blog posts are ranking for. And that's what I've highlighted here in orange. Okay. Tire kicker. What is that? Okay. Let's open that post. They're ranking #1 for a keyword that has 2,100 searches a month. That's pretty good. Tire kicker, I don't know if you guys use this term, but it's a common term to just mean someone who's shopping around, but is never really going to buy. It comes from car sales, right? You kick the tires of a car, so you're like, oh, is it a good car? That looks like it's in good shape, but you have no intention of actually buying the car, right? So what is a tire kicker? Tire kickers are both bad fits for your product and the ultimate time-wasting sales lead, whatever, right? On topic, it seems on topic. It's a term in sales. This whole post talks about, what is a tire kicker? Someone who's never going to buy. And then what are they going to do? How do you spot them? How do you avoid tire kickers? On surface, it seems like it's going to help salespeople, and salespeople is Pipedrive's audience. It's a CRM used by salespeople. I can guarantee you, I don't know their conversion stats. I can guarantee you a minuscule amount of people, if any, that are Googling tire kickers and reading blog posts about it are signing up for Pipedrive. We can continue. They rank #1 for the term gross sales with a blog post that's gross sales versus net sales. What does it do? It does exactly what you would think, is it defines what the terms are. Again, loosely on topic for a tool that is sold to salespeople. But there's nothing, there's nothing when you Google that indicates that you are in the market for a CRM. Net sales versus growth scales. Cold calling scripts seems very useful for salespeople. Email confirmation templates, sales funnel. And it goes on. SDR, what is the meaning of an SDR? Just a blog post that's just about sales development reps. The problem with all of these is the same. They indicate that the person may be somewhere up here. Loosely, it's on topic for salespeople, but they are not. By the act of Googling these things, this traffic doesn't have any intention to buy or sign up for a trial for CRM tools. So if you guys, with these things I pulled up, whoever is here that's running Hiver, a Gmail customer service based tool, Shopflow, checkout experience, Authory, a home for your content. If you guys do content marketing in this way, which is like, okay, well, I'm selling to customer service, I'm selling to, e-commerce stores, whatever. And so I'm going to write posts on, things that have SEO volume, even on best e-commerce sales strategies and customer service tips. That's actually very standard content marketing. You will likely get very few actual demos and trials from that. And here is evidence. This is from one of our foundational frameworks that we talk about all the time at Grow and Convert, called Pain Point SEO. And that's meant to solve this problem and flip this funnel idea on its head. But I want to start with a key screenshot here, an analytics screenshot, to show you this. These posts, well, actually, before I show you this, let's actually talk about what you should do. What we suggest you do is start at the opposite end of the funnel. is think of keywords that people would Google when they actually are in the market for your tool. Pipedrive doesn't seem to be doing this, at least from what I see here, but we can easily think of, so I'll use ClearScope, which is one of my favorite SEO keyword tools because it's just simple and fast. So Pipedrive, Salesforce alternatives, great option. Okay, while that loads, we'll think of some more. How about, and feel free to come up with ideas for Pipedrive that would actually have buying intent and it could be a little bit interactive, right? So Salesforce alternatives, 880 monthly searches. Competitors for Salesforce, 2,400 monthly searches. Even if you did not rank as high, even if the traffic is lower, imagine the difference in buying intent. Someone who's Googling Salesforce alternatives does not need to be dripped down the funnel. They don't need to be educated why CRM is important. CRM is really useful, blah, blah, blah. They know what it is. They know what Salesforce is. They're already unhappy with that. Or they, for some reason, they want an alternative to that. And they're looking for that. Pipedrive is literally a Salesforce alternative. You don't need to capture their email. You can go straight to try it for free because you literally Googled Salesforce alternative. And yet, company after company we look at, talk to, look at the analytics with, work with, does not do SEO and content marketing this way because they're doing it in the way that everyone has taught them, which is to chase traffic and chase traffic and chase traffic. And this is the evidence of that. These 3 blog posts for a particular SaaS company in the marketing analytics space that we worked with do this pain point SEO, and I'll talk about specific examples there, which is targeting bottom of the funnel keywords with buying intent, okay? And they got over whatever time period, 40, 33, and 51 new user signups. These other ones are all keywords that the target audience, marketers in this case, could Google. So they're just as relevant as a CRM writing things for salespeople like net sales versus gross sales and cold calling scripts, right? It's not totally off topic. It's somewhat on topic. And yet look at the conversions, 5, 3, 0, 8, 0. So what I always tell people is writing these bottom of the funnel, chasing these bottom of the funnel keywords is not 20% higher conversions. It's not 50% higher conversions. It's multiple X, right? The difference between 0 and anything like this is multiple fold higher. It's dramatic. It's, if you didn't do these 3, you would think to yourself, SEO and content marketing as a channel simply doesn't work for us. That's a tragedy, right? You just didn't do it properly, and yet you're just discarding the entire channel and then you move on. Well, I don't know. Let's try some influencer things. Like, let's try LinkedIn ads. Oh, $45 a click. Like, how does anyone afford this? Like, you have to try these other things because you're chasing things with no buying intent. So Salesforce alternatives is one. We can think of more, right? Like small business CRM. If you say, okay, Salesforce has, I don't know what Pipedrive actually targets. Maybe they target enterprise too. But you'd say, oh, Salesforce targets big enterprise. What about small business? We can do that. 2,900. Best small business CRM, 2,900. Pipedrive small business, great. I mean, this has their name in it, so they'll rank even without trying. Salesforce business CRM systems, great. So in Pain Point SEO, we can then start thinking about this in a little bit more detailed way. And I think the chat that just came is perfect. Same applies for templates related keywords like project planning template. Yes, exactly. So let's go through some exact examples here of categories of what works. So we talked about Salesforce alternatives, which is kind of 1 and 3, comparison posts and alternatives. So you can also, alternatives we talked about, finding incumbents or competitors in your space. There's almost always search volume around their name and competitors, or their name and alternatives. Comparison posts is this versus that. So an example would be if you just started Googling Salesforce versus. So you see all of these examples. Salesforce versus Workday versus HubSpot versus this. For Pipedrive, maybe HubSpot's relevant, another small business type CRM. So if Pipedrive ranked for Salesforce versus HubSpot, which it can. We've done this for many clients. Well, we'll pick two competitors that are big in their space and do a comparison, this versus this, and then add on our client's name at the end. So you can do Salesforce versus HubSpot versus your company's name and rank for that. And then you sort of, I call that crashing the party. You weren't invited to the party, but you're showing up anyways, right? People are Googling these two things they're not aware of you, and you say, hang on, we are Pipedrive. This is how we compare. This is the, competitive advantages. And the conversion rate is extremely high, especially if you write that post well. So that's alternatives. Best product listings. This is exactly like this. Best small business CRM, best small CRM for this, best CRM for home services, best CRM for SaaS, best CRM for industrial, commercial. There's like a million versions of this.
Got it.
Let's try. Best CRM. Go ahead, Shafiq.
Yeah, so to sum it up, what you're essentially saying is it's not just about bringing traffic, it's about bringing relevant traffic to the website. And relevant traffic essentially means that traffic that has intent to buy, some or probably in consideration phase, rather than just focusing on top of the funnel. And typically marketers go for top of the funnel because it is kind of a vanity metric that you show to your boss, or that your boss shows
That's
it to
right.
their boss, saying that, okay, we did publish so many blogs that led to as many number of visits on the website.
Yes. So Tanvi asked a relevant question here, which is, does this mean we just write bottom of the funnel content? Honestly, my answer is yes, until you run out. And I know that might come as a shock to some people. And if it feels better to also write top of the funnel content, so be it. And Tanvi, you can ask follow-up questions, but I know that the objections we've gotten are sometimes like this. Well, don't we also need to do top of the funnel stuff? My answer is no, because if you look at stats like this, I would say, what is the point? What is the point of this traffic? Look at this one. 10,000 users in this time frame versus 1,000, but 5 signups versus 51. What is the point of this? Why would you waste time and resources and money having someone on your team or a freelance writer produce this? I just don't see the use of it. In particular, if you don't have massive amounts of funding and therefore resources and budget to blow on this. If you're bootstrapped, your resources and your time or your team's time or your money to spend on marketing resources are precious, and there's zero sum. It's not infinite. And you have to pick and choose. I would choose these all day. And so our advocate is start here and move up. Okay, another relevant question from Hemalata is, how about building topical authority? Great question. There is a post that I have not brought up that we wrote. We've written a lot where we talk about this. It may occur to me what the exact URL is, but what we found, so just so that everyone's on the same page, this concept of topical authority is that Google's algorithm is smart enough to know whether your website is an authority on a particular topic. And if you don't have that topical authority as decided by their algorithm, the Google algorithm, it will not rank you. That's true. Our evidence, our experience is very aligned with that. That said, the beauty of the bottom of the funnel approach is that because you will be writing on topics that are directly tied to your product, almost all companies by definition have as much topical authority as their website will have on any topic on the topic of their product space. So if you are a Salesforce alternative to Pipedrive, this is one of the most highest topically authoritative topics you have. Or if you literally are a CRM for small business, which Pipedrive has, you should have topical authority on this. And if you don't, then that's the first thing you should have topical authority on. Then it's about building links, et cetera, and getting some notoriety in your space. So that's fair. If you're starting from absolute zero, you may need to do things like you're buying a brand new domain, you just launched your SaaS, you may need to do things to get some basic domain authority and links. That's still relevant. But I'm just saying, in terms of keyword strategy, I don't see any reason not to start down here. And what we do is just work our way up. The other objection we often have, that I don't know if that was in, I don't know, Tanvi's question, should we only write bottom of the funnel, is sometimes people say, well, aren't people going to get tired of all this bottom of the funnel content we write? And my comeback to that is, people aren't reading your SaaS company. And I don't mean to insult Hiver or anyone else, but no one's going to this, and even Pipedrive. No one's like, let me just open up Pipedrive's blog this morning before I start working, and I'll just start reading through the latest blog. Announcements to the world, right? They are like, everyone is reading it.
Hey, Devesh, I think you're breaking. Your voice is breaking for the bunch of us.
Second.
I thought it was just me, but then I saw a comment on the chat. Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if this is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, apologies. We're having some storms in California, and so I don't know if this is just messing up the internet right now. So the other objection is, well, aren't people going to get tired of it? And my thing is, the way you should think about these blog posts, if you want to use content marketing and SEO as a lead generation tool, is not as PR announcements to everyone. They're not TechCrunch articles or something. What they are more should be thought of as traps or fishing nets in the ocean that are meant to just capture the fish in that area, and that area being Google, being that ocean. So if Pipedrive writes on Salesforce versus HubSpot versus Pipedrive, or writes on CRM for small business, that blog post is meant for those people Googling that thing. They're not reading the rest of your blog. Who does that? Right? You're not HubSpot's, you're not Ahrefs' blog or HubSpot's blog. Like, when you get to that point, you have other problems to worry about. And so don't worry about that. And if you're like, well, what if I email it? You don't have to tweet every one of these posts. You don't have to email. That's not the point of this. If you want to do some insightful, like, commentary on the industry to put on your Twitter, do that separately. It's just a completely separate strategy. Okay, so if we continue down this, so the three big frameworks here, I'm going to group 1 and 3 to just say comparisons and alternatives. Best of. Just these 3 should get you a ton. Let's skip pricing for now. It's a little bit nuanced. The other big one is like use cases, right? And so, for Pipedrive, instead of saying like best CRM, you could say ways to track prospects through the sales funnel. You may think, oh, isn't that top of the funnel, like you said, was bad? No. Or how to track people through the sales funnel, things like that. And I don't know if those have volume. I'm just thinking of that, right? Those are a how-to type query that your tool literally does. So you can present your tool as a way to do that. And so then it still has buying intent. And that's where someone had mentioned this comment about templates. That's where templates are perfect. We've had someone joked that every SaaS tool ever created is just an Excel. It's something that you could do with, fancy Excel formulas, but it's like in a wrapper and like a nice UX, right? And so the alternative to that you can exploit from a content marketing perspective is that there's almost always some queries that people are looking for to do what your SaaS tool does, but in an old-fashioned Excel type way, right? Or we take one of these off the cuff. This is a Gmail enhancer. So not knowing what Hyver does in detail, there's probably old-fashioned ways to do the same things in Gmail, right? Or some lesser ways to do it in Gmail. There might be search queries, there doesn't have to be, but there may be search queries around that. How to do X with that, how to handle customer support with Gmail, handle chat support right inside Gmail. Let's see. Customer support Gmail, right? And so these aren't best Gmail add-ons, Gmail help desk, great. How to manage customer support efficiently. That's kind of those types of queries is what we're saying product or service use cases, and templates fall in that. So we have a particular like invoicing tool SaaS company, and so we've produced a bunch of invoicing templates and they service like plumbers and HVAC and electricians and all this. That's who they service. And so we have all these like plumbing invoice templates or whatever. And so we say, here's an actual template as a spreadsheet. You can download that. But also, if you use our software, it's a lot more efficient and can do it this other way. And so there's buying intent there because they're looking to do something. It's very different than net sales versus gross sales. They're not looking to do anything. They're just learning some basic concept. So there's almost no buying intent here. The chances of them needing a CRM is almost zero. Versus if you're Googling something, best CRM, very high. But even a use case like how to track deal statuses or something also has non-zero buying intent. And then I'll open it up to questions and we can kind of, if we have time, maybe do some case studies for some of the tools that you guys have. And I'll answer some of these questions, but just some more data to back up what we're saying. Here's a case study, and we can email this out on our site with our client Geekbot. It was a client for a long time. And when we just looked at this, so this is an example, the screenshot that I kept showing everyone is an example of a few articles, right, for a particular client. This, we looked at over 60 posts, 20 or something of which was top of the funnel and 40 were bottom or vice versa. So there's a larger data set. And we look at the actual conversion rate from landing to sign up for Geekbot, a SaaS tool, right? A Slack plugin in this case. And again, it's not that the conversion rate is 20%, 30%, 50%, or even 100% higher. It's like 25x higher. 0.19% traffic to sign up conversion rate versus 4.8%. Then we also wanted to pry into the question that many people have. Well, don't these top of the funnel keywords have a lot more traffic? So can't you make up for that lower conversion rate with higher traffic? So we said, yes, they do have way more traffic. So the actual page views in whatever time period Daniel and our team did the analysis for was much higher, 200,000 page views versus less than 50,000. But when we multiply page views times this ridiculous conversion rate difference, we still see, what is this, 400 to 1,400? More than 3x more total conversions from bottom of the funnel. So that delta in conversion rate is so much higher than the deltas in traffic you would get when you look at bottom versus top of the funnel. All right. I will stop here. I could go on I've been talking about this for 6 years, so I could go on for a long time. Let's see, what other questions did I miss? Everyone says that thought leadership is important these days, and mostly these are top of the funnel contracts. So do we do that or not? Great question. Again, I think the only reason, this is a bit of a controversial thing, but I'll say my thing. I think the vast majority of SaaS companies, especially bootstrap founder types, would be best served by not worrying about thought leadership type content. First thing, and I think we have a post on this, thought leadership, grow and convert. I should be able to Google it without grow and convert and see that we're ranking, right? If we actually know what we're doing in SEO. We wrote this post saying the vast majority of people trying to do thought leadership don't actually have any leading thoughts. Like, unless you really have something that's worth saying, you just think you're like doing thought leadership because everyone told you to do thought leadership. Do you have something notable to say? That's like thing number one. So the vast majority of the time, you probably don't. So don't waste your time. Even if you do, you can do that, but just expect that that's not really going to produce conversions. And if you want to do content marketing that produces conversions, then focus on things that actually have buying intent. Someone's reading your commentary on the SaaS industry. And like, what do SaaS founders write thought leadership posts on? VC funding versus bootstrap, blah, blah, blah. Those people are not trying to buy a Gmail plugin. They're not trying to buy this e-commerce checkout tool. They're not trying to buy this place where you can host your content. They're not like, you know what I mean? And so like, there's no buying intent at all in thought leadership content. What can it do for you? It can create some brand awareness. It can maybe get some links to your site to increase overall domain authority. So in that respect, it can help your SEO efforts for sure, but don't expect it to actually lead to leads. So if you have topical authority and you find that when you produce these bottom of the funnel type terms, very relevant, right? So for here, if you produce things around Gmail help desk add-ons or whatever would be like extreme bottom of the funnel, the equivalent of small business CRM for Pipedrive. If you produce that and you're like, hey, Google is ranking us for this, then you don't need to worry about topical authority and domain building and leads. You just produce more of those, knock all of them off. Get into SEO keyword research tools. Think of every possible buying intent, bottom of the funnel type keyword you can think of. What would people Google when they're ready to buy my tool? And list them out in a spreadsheet. Literally just put it in a spreadsheet one by one. Put 30 and say, this is what I want to rank for, and go one by one. All right. Does keyword stuffing still work? Like if we can share the entire context in 500 words, then should we still do 300 word articles just to stuff more keywords? There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot stuffed into that question. So the difference between a 500 word article and a 3,000 word article may not be keyword stuffing. It should not be keyword stuffing. So I think largely keyword stuffing, no, it does not work. We use ClearScope, and what ClearScope does is it's a much more advanced, and there's others like it now out there, much more advanced like on-page SEO tool that tells you for a particular thing. Let's see if we have, oh no, these are via the plugin. There's got to be some employee scheduling software. Yeah, so it tells you with, what you need to write here, what terms to go into, and what it's done is analyzed everything on page one of the particular keyword you're looking at, seeing what terms they mention to make sure you mention it as well, and what terms are common. So many people do this. You want to check off as many of these as possible, get as high of a score as possible, etc. But it does not mean just stuffing the target keyword like Salesforce versus HubSpot over and over again. So the short answer is, if you can write it in 500 words, then no. If you think you can fulfill the search intent in 500 words, you don't need to do more. Now, that said, for most of these keywords, we don't find that 500 words is enough to cover the search intent. And that's something I haven't talked about yet. I can say it briefly. What I've talked about so far is what we could call in the SEO space keyword strategy. All I've focused on is what keywords should and topics should you go after. That's not the end all of SEO. The biggest second question is, and how do you actually rank for it? Right? And that's probably another talk. I mean, that's just too much to discuss in 1 hour, right? But in short, a big thing there is fulfilling the search intent, which in short, just analyze every single result on page one, open it up, see what are they talking about? Because what Google's telling you via what it's already ranking is what its algorithm is saying, I want for this. So you know kind of what it kind of wants already. And you can also think logically, what are they looking for? And what is this maybe lacking that I can already think from my own brain that this wants? Well, they want to compare pricing. They want to compare features. They want to compare this and that. And you'd be surprised how many of the top results on Google don't do a great job of it. So you can do a better job. And that, in the writing phase, the number one thing you should think about is fulfill that search intent. What are they actually Googling for, and how can I get the best possible resource for them there? Typically, we find that requires more than 500 words, 1,500, 2,000 plus. But That's not a hard and fast rule. When all of the work we do for clients and ourselves, we don't count words. We just don't count it. We have no word count. We don't count it. We don't know. But I know that when I've gone back and looked, it's typically 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, et cetera. It's not 500. Abhimanyu asks, I feel like there's some brand building and broad UX value in publishing top of the funnel content. Yeah, there is, sure. If I see that a collaboration tool also has bandwidth to invest in and produce content on the topic of collaboration separate from its product, it'd be more comfortable exploring this product as an option. That's fair. I think I would say that sounds logical and that may be true. At the same time, all of our data suggests that that's not necessary. Like, if you're a collaboration tool, and I'm knowing nothing more than what you have in your example, Abhimanyu, and you rank for best collaboration tool, you're going to get leads from it. I guarantee it. If you rank in the top 3 spots, right? Regardless of if you have any other like top of the funnel content on it. The vast majority of our analytics for our clients, almost all of it suggests that these bottom of the funnel topics, people are ready. They're not looking to do, they're just at the last stage comparing software. And they're not then browsing the rest of the blog to see what's going on. They read this, they're comparison shopping. They have multiple tabs open to look at the other competitors. They look at your homepage, they sign up, and the product quality and the trial and the demo takes over from there. Akil asks, can you share any insights on zero volume keywords? What SEO tools show versus what search engine? Yeah, so we wrote a post called mini volume keywords, I believe. Which is similar to that. So, and here, finally, we could show something where we didn't have to type growing convert. So I don't know about 0, but there are some. So I know just from knowing this case study that this particular comparison keyword, most SEO tools were showing almost 0 volume. In short, what this case study shows is that what we found is even when SEO software shows very little volume. So in this particular thing for Geekbot, one of the keywords was free Slack stand-up bot, and Ahrefs showed 20 volume. And he said, and what we said is our article has generated 177 organic conversions from in the last 7 months for something that supposedly gets 20 searches a month. Conversions. So let me just walk through that math there. On paper, you would say, oh, the term itself gets 20 a month. So times 7 months is 140 searches. And you can Google these things. If you rank number 1, they say you get 30% of the clicks or something like that. So 140 times 30% would be what? Like 40, 50 or something? Clicks. Then you'd be like, what's the conversion rate? Maybe, what do we see in the conversion rates here? A good conversion rate is 4 or 5%. Of 50 clicks, you'd expect like 2 signups, 5 signups. And we got 177 because we're getting way more than actual 20. And so this idea of 0 volume keywords, we called it mini volume keywords. A bunch of people started writing about it at about the same time. Is that in our experience, if you find really good high buying intent keywords, even if SEO keyword research tools are telling you the volume is low, go after it. They almost always underestimate. The biggest reason I think is that you end up ranking, if you rank for one of these, you end up ranking for a bunch of long tail terms that are not indexed by these tools or not showing any volume. And I don't know other reasons why, but in our experience, always when you rank in the top 3 spots for a particular keyword, your actual page views will be higher than the stated monthly search volume of that keyword.
Interesting.
Abhimanyu, then go ahead.
No, I just saying interesting. Yeah, Abhimanyu, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead.
He asks, how do you think about the value of producing content that sits on the resources section that helps you get more out of the product? For example, educational content on Agile, Scrum, Waterfall methodologies for a project management SaaS. I don't think of that. So let me not go to your example. If you hadn't given that example, I think just your question alone, I think that is a fine use of content. And I just consider that in a totally separate bucket or category of content in general. That's just not content for lead generation. And that's okay. That's content for what people call activation or just helping users. Once you get them into your free trial, yes, like do everything you can to make sure they have a successful experience. They upgrade to paid. When they're in paid, make sure that they're engaged, that they're, getting to the magic moment, that they're using often enough to renew, to upgrade. And if there's content that supports them in doing that, that's important. It's just totally separate from marketing or acquisition-based content. Now, the example, I don't know if it's exactly the same as that. Like, I guess it's true. Like, if you produce content on like agile methodologies, then maybe that would help people who signed up for your project management SaaS. Yeah, that's fair. Again, I just would make sure that in your mind, you bucket the purpose of that content as, again, like activation and getting them to do more of the things you need them to do when they're inside your app, and not thinking of it as something that's going to get you more users or trials or signups.
Hi, Devesh, Abhimanyu here. Thanks for answering this question. And I totally get it. I guess what we're talking about is really attributing the value of this kind of content to the right activity and an intention here. I'm still getting the hang of the use of these various content activities. So this really helps clarify things. Thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Questions? I think we are about at the hour, although I guess we started later. Go ahead.
Devesh, quick question on this is, if we don't have the volume, do we just follow the gut to create like a keyword list, or do we take like bare minimum indications from the SEO tools and proceed on that and just analyze, like have check-ins and then basically proceed on the strategy?
Let me just make sure I understand your question correctly. You're saying if you're doing this keyword research and you're following this sort of methodology, pain point SEO, and you're trying to look for these high buying intent keywords, but you're finding that one after another has almost no volume.
Exactly. Yeah. So how do we gather the trust to execute on it? Like, what are those signals that we should look for? Is it like just doing and seeing, or is there any other way to have more confidence on that? Yes, we have arrived at the right keywords.
Yeah. So, well, that seems to be a separate question than search volume, right? Regardless of search volume, your last question is valid, which is, how do you build confidence that this is working? And I think the answer is, yeah, do a few of them. We've worked with enough SaaS companies to know, if you picked 3 of your most obvious bottom of the funnel keywords that you don't even need to do any research, you're just like, this is so obvious, like this is the thing we want to rank for. If people are Googling this, they're looking for our tool. Just pick 3 of them and then analyze what's ranking already in the top page. Figure out as best as possible what that search intent is and try to produce the best thing and sell your piece and your tool and all the nuances and everything you know on it. Just 3 of these articles. Publish them and wait. You would probably be better off than what most people spend years of content marketing doing. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but like, you get the point. So the short answer is yes, like try it and see, right? And then make sure you have the analytics in place to be able to measure that. Again, that's a totally separate topic. Shafiq, afterwards, I don't know if you email like the recording or something, I can send you relevant articles that are relevant to what we talked about today that you could send to everyone.
Sure.
We send the recording for sure. So if you add links, we'll add that.
Yeah. So, but your first question then was, well, what if you don't have a lot of that volume? You do have to be careful there. I find that most of the time that's pretty rare. If you really don't have any volume for any of these categories of like competitors, especially like product use cases, that that's rare. We've encountered a few clients that have done that, but they have to be SaaS products that really do a brand new thing that no one is searching for or even knows to look for.
That's
So we had a
that's where my
client
question
that
is
was
stemming
one.
from.
Yeah, we had a
I
client
work for
that
a
had a.
product like, I'm sorry, please
What
go
is the example? What is the example?
ahead.
Or your example?
So I work at an early stage company, and we have like one part of our tool has established use cases, and people are using other tools and like manual processes to do that. The other half of it is very, very innovative, where like we are automating referral hiring through like collective networks of people. So you can basically bring your LinkedIn network to a place. All your employees can bring their LinkedIn network to a place, and then basically there's an internal workflow for that. So the keyword has been difficult. Like all the keywords that fall into that place talk about something very different in the way that it is being executed right now. Referral
Yeah.
hiring is there, but it's like very top of the funnel, very high competition.
Yeah. I think in that case, like if you truly are that innovative and no one even knows to look for this because they don't even know a tool like that exists, SEO may not be the right channel for that. In your case, for some people, it's like may not be the right channel for your product. In your case, you're saying it may not be the right channel for that portion or that feature set of your product.
Yeah.
Because if you just zoom out of everything I talked about, you're saying, I invented something new that no one in the world even is looking for. You're like, yeah, well then SEO is not going to give you people looking for it if no one knows to look for it. So the example I was going to say in one of our clients is we had a client that had, now there's many, but had at that time created one of the first Slack to Salesforce integration Slack bots, where salespeople could just update lead statuses in Slack and it would update the records in Salesforce. At the time, there was like Slack Salesforce integration, and that's it. That was like the one keyword. That was very difficult because it was just very innovative. Now maybe there's like a lot more. Right? It was like if people are literally not looking for that, then SEO may not be the right channel for that. So in your case, maybe then it's use SEO for the part of the platform that there are a bunch of competing tools and people are looking for. And then you have to find other ways to sort of educate people that this is even something they should think about or look for or need.
I accept that answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
That's as fair as I can expect.
All right, then if there are no additional questions, I think Devesh, if you have any closing thoughts, do share and then we can close the session.
Yeah, my last thing is like we've talked about this for many years at Grow and Convert. We have a course even that we sell in addition to the actual agency services, and so we have hundreds of people in here. And one of the biggest things I see is people being like, okay, yeah, cool, like this really makes a lot of sense, and then they get hung up on actually executing on it. Like they don't, they sort of psych themselves out. They think of too many barriers. They create problems that don't exist to not act on it. This is very, very easy to test. No one's asking you to spend $10,000 a month on paid search spend, right? Or execute some complex strategy, create these fancy landing pages. Like one article, 2 articles, 3 articles that go after what are just the most obvious bottom of the funnel keywords for you. That's not hard. You could get off this call and if you're one of the founders of a SaaS company or work inside one, you could think of the bottom of the funnel keywords in 10 seconds. It should be so obvious what it is for you, right? Name your top 5. Like, I would love to rank for these because it has buying intent. Then, like, try 2, try 3, try 1, and then come back in 2 months and measure it. And that'll give you the confidence of, oh my God, this is actually working. But don't overthink it and waste time just like thinking and not executing on it. This is a very easy thing to test. All right. I appreciate the time, everyone. This has been fun.
Got it. So thanks everybody for joining in today, and thanks Devesh for taking the time out to speak with everybody. There has been some issue with the event platform, our regular event platform, and thank you for waiting for that initial 10-15 minutes. And sorry for the delay. Um, as I said, right, these are deep dives, and we typically go and talk about a topic and in depth. I think Devesh did justice with deep dive by going and giving like real life examples and from his experience working with clients at Grow and Convert. So really interesting learnings, and we'll edit this recording and share it with people who have registered for the event. And Devesh, I think you can share the links to articles that you showed in the talk here. Plus, if there are any additional articles that you think that our audience can learn from and execute better, we will include that in the community as well. Once again, thank you for taking the time out, and it was a great learning session. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Devesh. Been a fan of you since 2018. The first time I chanced upon Grow and Convert. So
Oh, nice.
uh,
Yeah, appreciate it.
saying hi, and sharing
Yeah.
what you. It
Yeah,
was
nice
incredible.
to meet you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Any questions, just send me an email.
I'll make sure I pick up brains.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. See you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, folks. Bye.